Hi friends, this is Caitlin, and today I'm so excited to share with you this really sweet Easter card that I made featuring some brand new items that are releasing today from Pink and Maine. I am so ready for spring, and I was so excited to combine the Spring Sayings stamp set with the Easter Greetings stamp and dies, as well as the Happy Easter word die set, and then this really beautiful daisy embossing folder. And then I also pulled out the Pastel Dreams pattern paper, which is from a previous release, but I am so in love with this pastel rainbow plaid. I think it just screams Easter basket or like Easter dress. I don't know about you, but when I was little, Easter dresses were always super exciting. To me, that really symbolized that spring was on its way and like warmer days were ahead. And that's what I want for us right now. So I trimmed down that plaid panel to 4 by 5 1/4, so I would have a little bit of a white border with my card base. And originally I grabbed this extra piece of Copic Express It paper because I thought I would want my white panel to match the border around my stamped images that are going to be around my dies. And so since that's the paper that I use when I stamp and color, I thought that it would be better to use that same paper. But once I saw everything together and I realized that the white was making the card base itself look more creamy, I changed my mind. So I glued down this checkered piece first, but in a minute you'll see that I change it up and I take another piece of a Nina Solar White cardstock, which is white, but it's not as bright white or blue white almost as the Copic Express It, and I ended up using that as my main panel that I will be embossing and adhering on top of the checker. So while you watch me go ahead and dry emboss this panel for pretty much no reason, although I probably will save it to use on another card in the future, I would love it if you would go down in the comments and leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite spring tradition is. Doesn't even have to be Easter related, but I'm just so looking forward to winter being over. I would love to know what you do or did growing up, or what you do with your kids now, anything like that that just really symbolizes in your mind that spring is on the way. I'd love to hear what that looks like for you, especially in different parts of the world, right? Because I'm assuming different cultures are going to have completely different versions of what spring or Easter, any of those things look like. So now you can see, now I'm cutting up that Nina. I trimmed it down so there would be a really nice border of that rainbow plaid all the way around. So I've cut a full inch smaller than an A2 size for this little white panel, and I'm adhering that right in the center. And this is where our die cut words and those adorable sweet little stamped images are going to go. But first, I am still on my push of trying to make sure that I put sentiments inside my card so that I am more likely to actually send them to somebody. And so I took this little sentiment that says "Sending Sunshine and Smiles" from the Spring Saying stamp set, and I stamped that and just in some plain black ink on the inside of my card. And I just thought it really helped tie everything together, and I love that. I just want to send sunshine and smiles to everybody. So now I am lining up my stamped images. I grabbed the Easter basket, this adorable little chick, and then I grabbed, there are 3 or 4 different Easter eggs in this stamp set, but I only wanted to use one pattern, but stamp it 3 times. So I'm in my Missy now, and I'm going to stamp the basket and the chick. And the nice thing is I was really worried about the center part of that basket getting a little bit of ink on it and stamping it on the paper, but the dies actually cut the center part out around the handle. So if you are somebody who likes to die cut, you don't have to worry about that because it's going to trim it away anyway. But you could see I kind of lifted it up and relaid it down, and it did help, but it didn't eliminate it completely. So then I switched to a regular little acrylic block so I could stamp my egg 2 more times, and then it was time to Copic color these. Oh, just kidding. I switched it up again. So I decided I wanted to nail down my colors that I was going to be using before I started coloring. And so I held up different tone-on-tone lined patterns from that same stamp set to see which, from that pattern paper to see which colors I liked best with that plaid pattern that's on the background. So I ended up with this really beautiful kind of periwinkle, purpley, bluey, tone-on-tone stripe. And then I cut the Happy Easter words from white cardstock twice, that same Nina, so that way all of the paper goes together. And I layered that up so it would just have a little bit of extra dimension and weight to it. And then I put once they were combined, I put that on top of the shadow die. And that way I could start working on what my featured colors were going to be when I started Copic coloring. If you do not have the Sandy Allnock hex chart for your Copic markers, I absolutely cannot recommend it enough. You'll see in a second, I pulled mine down and was able to put my whole card right up against my chart, and it made it so much easier to pick out colors that would coordinate perfectly with the colors of my cardstock. If you are somebody who likes Copic coloring and you like using pattern paper, it's a must-have because that way you can easily link up all of your colors. So I started out by coloring my cute little chickie, and I did put all of my lids on the screen as I always do, but if I go too fast, because I am speeding this up a good 3 or 4 times, you can always find the colors that I've used for each area in that description box below for you. I'll also have all of the items and links for all of the items that I used today down there for you as well. Some of those links are affiliate links, which just means that if you end up making a purchase or shopping through any of them, I get a small percentage back to help support my channel, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. So I had so much fun coloring in this basket. I used my E40s, and I just think that the weave texture of this is so pretty. So I went in with that darkest marker first, and I marked in all of those little boxes that would be the innermost layer of the weave, and then started going through and just adding shadows on either side of those where I don't even know what baskets are made out of, where the wood or whatever it is would be going under those areas. That's where the shadow would be, and then going in with the medium and the lighter shade right in the middle to really highlight. And I bumped up to the E41 for that highlight because I really wanted it to stand out and have a lot of dimension. But you could absolutely color these any way you want. It could be pink, blue, it could be white. You could do anything you want to customize it to your recipient. And I think that that is super sweet too. I went in with a YG to put in a little bit of grass. Again, this could be super fun and non-traditional grass because Easter baskets, at least here, get filled with all kinds of crazy stuff. And then I went in with some BV markers to try to match that background from my word die, my Happy Easter word dies. And because that was going to be a featured color, I really wanted the bow to kind of tie in with that, as well as one of the eggs. But for my other 2 eggs, I picked pink and orange. I'm going in with my R80 markers just to give that egg some nice dimension. And then I'm using those same BV markers on the second egg, kind of creating an oval shape with my darkest marker, and then leaving the highlights right on that very outer edges on both sides and right in the center, and kind of creating a more elongated highlight versus a circle, just so that it helps to mimic that same shape of the egg, and I think it helps to create a slightly more realistic highlight and shadow. So then it was time to put in all of my dies. I taped them down with washi tape and ran them through my die cutting machine, and I love how that basket cuts out. I think that it is so cute with that center cutout. I'm not a good fussy cutter, but things like that drive me crazy because I would 100% want to trim the inner part of that basket out, even if I was fussy cutting, and I know I wouldn't do a good job. So if you are somebody who can fussy cut, more power to you, but that is not for me. So I was so excited to have the die cut it out that way. I think it's super cute. It makes it so easy to use. So I glued down my basket, and I did not put any liquid glue right behind the grass. So that way I could go in afterwards and tuck my eggs into the basket a little easier, but not before adding some really cute white gel pen patterns and texture to the egg. So I just filled in some of the designs that were already there and then added little white dots on either side of the solid black artist drawn line that's there. And this is definitely not necessary, but I think it just kind of steps it up. You could also always do this with a little bit of glitter or stickles, and I think that would be really sweet too. But I just thought, you know, there's so much white on the card already that adding a little touch of white to the eggs would really help to tie them in. So I started to glue down my purple egg first, and then I realized I didn't want the purple egg right next to the ribbon and my die cut sentiment. So I switched it up and changed that one to pink, and then went in and added the purple and then the orange right on top. So I hope that you enjoy this card as much as I do. I hope that you're feeling really inspired, and most of all, I hope that you get a chance to go over to Pink and Main and check out the new release. There's so many cute things. There's definitely more than just the Easter stuff there. There's all kinds of fun stuff for spring, but I hope that you are feeling super inspired. I appreciate you so much being here today. I hope that you have an amazing week, and as always, happy crafting.